we are waiting on Congresswoman Goodlander, who is out talking to Channel 9. So we want her to do that.
Yeah.
You know what, while we're waiting, maybe we could go around and ask everybody to introduce themselves. And we can start with the audience so that by the time Congresswoman gets back, we'll be at the table.
Yeah.
All right, I'm E.B. James. I'm the director of the Swan Lakes Association, and we were the host for Lakes Region Conservation.
Great.
My name is Cindy Paradise. I work for the Swan Lakes Association. We're the state member there.
Good morning, I'm Kathy Baird. I'm the program director from the RSVP Volunteer Center. We cover Cheshire and Western Hillsborough counties.
My name is Matt Wilhelm. I'm a state representative in AmeriCorps.
Good morning, Andrea Johnston, the Volunteer New Hampshire Senior Program Officer.
Emily Falche, Program Officer for Volunteer New Hampshire.
Say it again.
Program Officer for Volunteer New Hampshire.
Good morning, Andrea Campbell at Southern New Hampshire University, and we have Manchester Excels as part of the AmeriCorps program. We do want to well known.
I'm Jen Fagan. I'm Goodwill, and she's in Northern New England, and we receive funding through Volunteer New Hampshire to run Manchester Excels and Grant State Education.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Colin from the Grant Goes to Scott.
Kyle Levy, Manchester Public College.
I'm Davis Brush, Senior Program Manager for the State Conservation Association, working with the New Hampshire Conservation Corp.
Great.
Good morning, Senators. On with City of New Hampshire.
I'm Amy Ziggy, and I'm an intern at Senator Hassan's office.
Ben Doyle, I'm also an intern at Senator Hassan's office.
Great. And we'll go all around the perimeter.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jen Hughes, Council Senator Shaheen.
Mitchell Trayer, Education, and how we put this together for Senator Hassan.
Hi, I'm Jen Cruz, State Director. Karen Conklin, Senator Hassan's office.
Sarah Hennessy, Senator Hassan's office.
That's the Hassan corner.
Yeah, I know. We've got Hassan and then Shaheen.
John Travis, Director of Operations, Senator Shaheen's office.
Hey, Corey Davis.
Adam, Senator Shaheen's name.
January Sparkman, Impact Director, City Year.
Jen Camille, Superintendent, Manchester School District. Nicole Dodge, Superintendent,
Adrian Collins, Executive Director of Communications.
And do we not have room for the Manchester School folks to sit down? We should put out some chairs. We were just going around the perimeter and we're just getting to... So, no, thank you. So we are now at the table. Nathan, you want to start?
Sure. I'm Nathan Mann, former Lakes Region Conservation Corps member and at the Swan Lakes Association.
I'm Carol Ferlini. I work with AmeriCorps Reads in the Monadnock region.
Good morning, my name is Maricela Julio, and I'm an AmeriCorps member serving under the Grant State Education Board.
Good morning, James Colarusso. I serve with Manchester Excels.
Good morning, I'm Brody Clark. I serve with the Student Conservation Association out of the Hampshire Conservation Board.
I am Elias Foxy. I currently serve with the City Youth at Manchester Hillside.
Good morning. I'm Guy from co-chair with Alan of Volunteer New Hampshire.
Good morning, Senators and Congresswomen. I'm Allie Snell. I'm the co-chair of the Board of Directors for Volunteer New Hampshire, a proud AmeriCorps alum and former agency staffer.
And good morning, I'm Gretchen Stallings. I'm the Executive Director of Volunteer New Hampshire and a proud AmeriCorps Vista alum.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I think we got everyone. Did we miss anybody on the perimeter?
I'm Steve Rita, City Years.
Great, thank you. Well, Maggie graciously organized this, Maggie. Senator Hassan graciously organized this event this morning with Congresswoman Goodlander, and they let me go first since I have seniority. So, but, you know, in the Senate, everything operates on seniority. But thank you,
It's all good.
Senator Hassan, for all of your work putting this together, and to all of you for coming. We know that these are challenging times. And I was thinking about the potential impact on what's happening in Washington, on the good work that all of you do. And I know we really want to hear from you, but I was the state senator who sponsored the legislation that brought AmeriCorps to New Hampshire back in the 90s. And I worked very closely with Steve Merrill, who was the Republican governor, to do that. And then in the early 2000s, after I got to the Senate, the work on AmeriCorps was bipartisan. This has always been a bipartisan effort. My son-in-law, Stephanie's husband, was in the first AmeriCorps class in 1994, and he said he started a program in Portsmouth High School, a service learning program that is still going on there. And that's the kind of good work that all of you have been doing for decades now. And in thinking about why this should continue, it's not just about all of that good work that's going on, but at a time when there's so much division in our country, what community service does is it allows us to put aside those partisan differences and to work for the community in the interest of the community. And that's what's so critical at this time. So if you don't support it because you don't understand the economic benefits, which are critical as we think about the return on every dollar invested, and you don't support it for because it's the right thing to do, you ought to support it because it's in the long-term interest of the country to have young people engaged, and all of you can speak so eloquently to what you see and what you've experienced. So again, thank you all so much for being here. Let me turn it over to Senator Hassan.
Well, thank you, Senator Shaheen. Good morning, everybody. And again, let me add my thanks to Jeanne's for all of you, not only for giving us your time this morning, but for everything you do to serve the community and to build the kind of cohesive experience, not only for yourselves and the volunteers you work with, but also for the people you serve. It's really, really important. And as I said to a number of you this morning, I really wish we didn't need to do this roundtable this morning. We're here hosted by City Year and the Manchester School Department in a welcome center that really reflects the kind of community spirit and service that really makes a difference in people's lives, helps people get stronger, grow our economy, and build a much better future. And the fact that we need to be here today because of arbitrary and reckless and really thoughtless and sudden cuts to AmeriCorps really speaks to an increasingly reckless and arbitrary administration that isn't taking the time to learn about the very programs and people that it is impacting. AmeriCorps programs and the members who serve our communities really represent New Hampshire at the very best. I always like to say the thing about New Hampshire is we don't wait for other people to solve problems. We roll up our sleeves, we get to work, we do it, and we put together pretty unique partnerships in doing so, often that I think really should be emulated elsewhere. And I join all of you, and Granite Staters who I am hearing from, I'm sure my colleagues are hearing from as well, really concerned with the administration's actions that are gutting funding and firing the very staff that make AmeriCorps possible. Let's be clear about what the Trump administration is cutting. AmeriCorps members provide tutoring and mentorship so that students can achieve their full potential, organizing activities to increase social and emotional development for young Granite Staters. Anybody who's spent time watching a City Year Corps in the Manchester School District has seen that firsthand. They help students in Manchester learn and master STEM objects, and they conduct habitat restoration and conservation efforts, trail construction and maintenance, and recreational structure building and repair so that visitors from around the region can enjoy our state's natural beauty. And I've had the pleasure of being up at the Conservation Corps and visiting, and it's really an impressive effort. The Trump administration should be supporting national service, But it is instead cutting the funding that makes these programs possible, and it's firing AmeriCorps staff, which provide this critical role, recruiting volunteers who help all over the state. It's on all of us to make clear the ways in which these actions by the Trump administration are hurting our communities. And one of the ways that we can make a difference during this difficult time is by speaking out about the impact that these programs have on us and our neighbors, and conversely, what the impact of these cuts are. The Trump administration is wrong for cutting funding for national service programs. To Senator Shaheen's point, they not only provide critical services, but they provide the opportunity for people from all around the state, sometimes from all around the country, to get to know each other and to find common purpose in service. And that again builds the kind of unity and cohesion that allows the country to move forward and to tackle tough challenges. These cuts are also going to have a devastating impact on students, educators, and families, especially when you combine what the Trump administration is doing to the Department of Education. Its attempt to close that department and cut critical programs. So I am really grateful to all of you for being here, for the work you have done, the work I know you're going to continue to do. I know for the Conservation Corps folks, you have, transitioned to continue to work with the Squam Lake Association, but we know, that that's a short-term solution, and it should never have happened in the first place. And with that, I will turn it over to Congresswoman Goodlander, and then we can get talking with people here.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you, Senator Hassan, Senator Shaheen, for bringing us all together today and for your incredible leadership. We couldn't ask for better representation in the United States Senate. We're really lucky as a state. I'm grateful to all of you for being here today. You are people from across our state who are carrying out what I think of as the most quintessentially American mission. And I'm grateful for everything you do. I was reading the AmeriCorps pledge this morning. It's a really beautiful one, and it's got two basic parts to it, which both of the senators have commented on. Look, this is a program that stretches back decades, that's always had bipartisan support. Richard Nixon understood that volunteering is a core American idea and a core American industry, really. It was George H.W. Bush that really signed the legislation that gave a pathway to AmeriCorps becoming the organization that it is today. These are programs that have had strong bipartisan support because they're programs that actually get things done for the American people. And that is what the AmeriCorps pledge says. I will get things done for America to make our people safer, smarter, healthier. I will bring Americans together to strengthen our communities. That is what you have done. That is what you do. That is what we should be investing in. And we're talking about relatively small investments that literally have changed the lives of tens of thousands of students, of seniors, and of the people who step up and volunteer. And so AmeriCorps is worth fighting for with everything we've got, and this is an important meeting today because we're at a moment when, I really think of it, in some ways we have to be guerrilla governing because the normal channels of governance are not working as they should. We are having to make the case in every way that we can, in every place that we can. That includes our courts, and a lawsuit's been filed that I hope the state of New Hampshire will ultimately support, but that we are going to, from the United States Congress, support in every way we can. We're going to be advocating for every dollar that was promised to New Hampshire and that we should be getting in the years ahead through our annual appropriations process. And we really rely on all of this on hearing directly from you. So I'm grateful to you for being here today and really look forward to our conversation.
Thank you. So,
you want
who would like to go first? Gretchen?
Yes, please. I'm ready. Good morning, and thank you so much, Senators. Congresswoman Goodlander, thank you for being here today. It's truly an honor to join you, not just as the Executive Director of New Hampshire State Service Commission, but as someone who spent my life and career witnessing the extraordinary ripple effects of service. Your presence here today means a great deal. We're all grateful for the opportunity to share with you the impact that AmeriCorps has on communities across New Hampshire, and especially the lived experiences of members who've given so much through their service. Recent terminations have had a profound effect, forcing the shutdown of 3 New Hampshire-based grants and stopping the work of the Lakes Region Conservation Corps at the Squam Lakes Association, which had members actively serving at the time that the news came. Today, we hope to offer a clear, grounded picture of what communities lose when AmeriCorps is no longer present, and what becomes vulnerable when current programs face such uncertainty. Many essential community-based initiatives simply cannot function at the same level without AmeriCorps members. They are often the invisible infrastructure behind so much of what works in New Hampshire. AmeriCorps is much more than a service program. It's a cornerstone of our civic capacity. Whether it's restoring trails and protecting water quality, or supporting student success in our public schools through mentoring and offering academic support, AmeriCorps members are there, quietly, reliably, and effectively. And their impact doesn't stop when their service term ends. AmeriCorps is also helping to build New Hampshire's workforce for tomorrow. We see members go on to become teachers, nonprofit leaders, case managers, health professionals, careers directly shaped by their service. In this way, AmeriCorps presents solutions to community needs and a talent pipeline to help businesses in our states grow more robust. AmeriCorps service is a profoundly effective tool for solving tough local problems, while opening doors of opportunity for those who serve. Our members leave their service year with enhanced professional skills, real-world leadership experience, and a lifetime commitment to civic service. I also need to speak to, in addition to AmeriCorps State and National, New Hampshire proudly supports a network of nearly 2,000 AmeriCorps seniors. Older adults age 55 and up who serve their communities through mentorship, companionship, senior wellness, emergency response, and literacy support. These programs not only improve lives, but they protect them and extend them, whether by helping a senior remain in their home, preventing a fall through bone builders classes, or mentoring a struggling child. This network of AmeriCorps seniors delivers high-impact services at a fraction of the cost of institutional alternatives. This network of programs has also been destabilized in the recent wave of funding terminations, even in places where they've operated for 50 years. These experienced New Hampshire citizens are also ready and eager to serve, but without reliable federal support, we're forced to turn them away. Despite these challenges, we remain focused on what we can do, supporting existing programs, stewarding our partnerships, and continuing to elevate the incredible impact of national service in every single community that we reach. Thank you for your time, for your presence, and for your continued commitment to service in New Hampshire.
Thank you. Feel free to jump in, but can I ask you a question, Gretchen? What would happen if all of the federal funding ends?
Well, we would have more situations like we do in the Lakes region where there are no longer AmeriCorps service to support and to help. And as with the Monadnock area, AmeriCorps Reads will be disappearing or could disappear. We will lose thousands of opportunities for individuals to serve in our state who are actively doing that, wanting to do that, wanting to step up and make a difference, supporting all sorts of vital services.
And I'll add, you know, with nonprofits being a vital part of our state's economy and workforce, the impact, the ripple effects of no longer having AmeriCorps will touch nearly every sector by virtue of losing just that workforce alone.
I'm curious if a couple of the people who have actually been serving in direct service roles, I think that's you, Carol, and Nathan, and these folks over here, can you just talk a little bit about what you've been doing in your role? And then we can keep going, but I just want people to get a sense of what this actually on the ground looks like.
Sure, I can start. So yeah, I'm at formerly Lakes Region Conservation Corps. I'm at Squam Lakes Association now. And you know, we all have specific kind of areas we focus on. My group of originally 9, now 8. I'm specifically part of Trails and Access, so that is maintaining first and foremost our trail network, but also training volunteers to be more involved in taking care of those resources, maintaining our overnight structures on some of the islands where we have camping, installing and maintaining docks so the public has access to that. There are only very few, two really publicly accessible islands on Squam, and so we maintain that access. But we also have members who do water quality testing at a number of sites around the watershed region, so we are able to monitor water quality in real time and act to address issues quickly. We have a water quality lab and we're able to process those results in pretty quickly. We we haven't quite started yet, but we'll be diving very regularly to remove invasive milfoil from the lake, and that takes up a lot of our time, and that is just to limit the spread. We can't get rid of it. We can work all we want and all we can to limit the spread, but as that capacity to do that diminishes and then maybe goes away, that is a problem that will compound exponentially and be seen immediately within the community.
And so if your funding goes away so that Squam Lakes Association can no longer pick up those additional costs, who's going to do that work?
The very few people who are certified to scuba dive and also to remove invasive species, and whoever will pay them to do it, I guess. On the private level, it's a very expensive process to do it. So, that will make a very immediate.
And trails won't be maintained in the same way.
That's something that also problems will cascade very, very quickly. In New Hampshire, it only takes a season or two for trails to start to get overgrown, people start getting off trail, widening the trail corridor, trampling and harming natural resources, and the kind of charm and beauty just starts to go away very quickly.
And they get more dangerous.
Makes it more dangerous, and then it's also just a barrier for access. No one wants to walk down a trail that looks unkempt, well, sometimes I do, but most people don't.
Usually my dog does, but
yes. Want to have that experience, and so it keeps people away.
So it has an impact on the resources, it has an impact on safety, it has an impact on tourism. As we look at the revenue that's coming into the state from tourism, all of that has a ripple effect. So the idea that this is saving money is just baloney. So anybody who says to you this is a money-saving endeavor, they don't know what they're talking about.
And they're downshifting costs.
Exactly.
Right? So Carol, talk about the work you've done with
So once a week I go to Chesterfield School and I work with the first graders to help them learn how to read. And what's really valuable about that, I've learned from my first grade teacher that I'm working with this year, is when you're learning to read, you really need to read aloud to someone, because how else does anyone know that you really know how to read? How do you know that you know how to read? So the most valuable piece I see is I take one kid at a time, go out in the hallway, and I have a book, and they read to me the whole book. And they get that one-on-one time, they get that immediate feedback, and of course the goal is to try and have all kids proficient at reading by the end of 3rd grade. So it's just another person and another resource that is not costing the community anything. And then for me personally, I've been retired for 2 years. I was a classroom teacher for 26 years. And so it's just really meaningful to me. And I taught in a high school, so it's really fun for me to go to an elementary school and work with first graders. But it just keeps me involved in the community. Like, I don't have the energy to be a full-time teacher anymore, but it's very important to me to still be part of the solution as long as I can. And so an organization like this allows me to do that.
And Carol, talk a little bit about why it's important for kids to be proficient in reading by the time they get to 3rd grade.
Well, I was a math teacher, but reading, as they say, is fundamental. I mean, if you want to learn, that's how we communicate with fellow human beings is by the English language. So if you can't do that proficiently, then it's going to be very hard for you to advance in any area.
Yeah. And again, the cost of that to the community is significant, because what we know is that kids who don't do well in those early years of school are less likely to graduate, they're more likely to get into trouble, they're more likely to enter the prison system, and they're more likely to cost money. So for everybody who doesn't want to pay for AmeriCorps, you're going to be paying at the other end. So that's a message we need to make sure people understand.
Carol, the kids who you're working with, do they have anyone else in their lives taking the time for
Some of them do, but that's yeah, we don't all come from the same background.
Right.
So some kids have parents that, you know, they will have the kid read to them every night, but other kids, you know, they may not know where they're sleeping that night. And that's very true in our community and probably most communities. So some of the kids know. They don't have anybody else who's going to sit down with them and be there with them and listen to them read.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thanks.
Who else of the volunteers wants to talk about what they do? Sure, Brody.
So with the Student Conservation Association, we're kind of a melting pot of people from all over the country that
Right.
come to New Hampshire in order to get these skills to work. And we have two separate kind of groups of people. We have our interpretive rangers who go to parks and directly kind of get people into environmental, just thinking about the environment in general. And then my side is the field crew. So we do trail work. There's a whole day where we clear corridors, we maintain trails, we also build shelters, we maintain campsites. So we work directly with state parks, the AMC, other federal agencies, and nonprofits in the area, the towns and everything, to get the campsites and get the areas up to running. Because, as Johanna Lyons likes to say, many hands make light work.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we get in there, we help these state parks get up to running so they can actually bring in tourism and maintain our trails that are safe.
Thank you. Roger, do you want to talk about City Year and what you do? Yeah. Yeah.
Again, I serve at the Hillside Middle School, which is a Title I school. And I effectively help the teacher guide the classroom where they need it to be. I help more with kids who are often ignored.
Yeah.
You have kids on the lower end of the grade scale in paraprofessional, and then you have the kids who are kind of higher up the grade scale who get a lot of attention from the teacher.
Right.
My forte is all the kids in the middle who don't feel they get a lot of attention, which is something I identify with a lot.
Yeah.
When I was in elementary school, I did my work on time. I did everything I needed to do, but I didn't really talk to anyone.
Right.
I didn't really talk to anyone in class. I didn't really talk to the teacher. I was kind of on my own. Being at City Year truly makes me feel like I'm making a difference.
Yeah.
Because I will interface with these kids and they will bounce back everything I say back at me.
Yeah.
It's honestly one of my kids who I identify with a lot. He's a dreamer like I am.
Yeah.
It's always been my dream as a kid to write a book.
Yeah.
He's always wanted to pass it.
Yeah.
And being able to foster that ambition in a way that no adult could do for me when I was a kid is really special.
Yeah.
Can I ask, how did you hear about City Year? And
My mom told me about it.
say it again?
My mom told me about it.
Ah, nice.
I knew I wanted to take a gap year, and I just wasn't sure what to do. But I used to be always I cared for a while, and my mother saw the way I interacted with them, did a little bit of research on City Year, and said, "Hey, I think it's," and so I started little research on my own. They have a YouTube channel where it shows like all these, like a plethora of videos of a city year like interacting with these kids and talking about it, and actually got me emotional watching these videos. And it was that moment I was like, I need to go. I need to do this. It felt like an obligation.
That's great. So he's doing a great job, huh, Pon?
Yeah.
And you have lots of material for your book.
Yeah. But I also think it really speaks to the power of volunteerism, because every volunteer brings their own experience, their own perspective to the job, and finds another person whose need you're addressing in your own way. And that's that human-to-human connection, so much a part of who we are in New Hampshire. And I always want, the rest of the country to have that same kind of experience too. So thank you for being so clear about why it's important to you.
Can I ask more broadly, what would it mean for our public schools in Manchester to lose city air?
So it would be, I would say, a huge negative impact for not only our students, but our city air members. I'm just talking a little bit back here. Not only do they contribute to our students, but they contribute to our education pipeline. So we bring forward a lot of teachers. You're hearing me talk about his passion for working with students. This is a human that we would want to make sure we're trying to figure out how do we cultivate him and get him into those types of roles longer term. I think it's an amazing opportunity for both our littles, but our members to see, is this a career we have? And then they have that absolute street cred right out of the gates because they've done the work. So we do our best to try to siphon the members back into the district. I think we would be successful. So I would say on both ends, it would have an incredibly negative impact. It would definitely chill the work that we're doing.
You should tell people about Meg.
Our daughter is an AmeriCorps graduate who did Teach for America in New Orleans, and she now helps kids with special needs between 3 and 5, and that's her niche. But it was her AmeriCorps experience, her and 28 5-year-olds for 2 years, that taught her what she wanted to do, what her dream was to.
To add to what Superintendent just said, I think that 1 year of service, that year can be incredibly impactful, but the impact it truly lasts, in my perspective, a lifetime. We have so many of our graduates stay here in our community, teach, stay active. We have elected officials at Home sitting over there as our alumni. It's truly remarkable what young people do after they serve and their experience, what powerful giving back experience can be for themselves and for the communities.
And if I might add, again, as I was saying, I'm a young guy, right?
Yeah.
It is such an honor to be at this table with all of you. I want to thank City here for this opportunity. I want to thank the Senator for organizing this.
Thank you. We can hear more, but I also, one of the things that is happening is obviously these sudden and dramatic cuts are just being kind of orchestrated from top levels of the administration, as reflected in our opening comments. They're very arbitrary. I always remember the adage that carpenters have: measure twice, cut once. The administration isn't measuring at all. It's just cutting and slashing. In addition to the cessation of some programs, meaning literally AmeriCorps volunteers told to stand down overnight. For those of you who are either on the board or help administer programs, what's the impact of not knowing whether the other shoe is going to drop on your operations and on your ability to keep these programs going? And I open that up to everybody.
I'll just step in as one of the co-chair of the board, Director of the Guy, to kind of address your question. It's immeasurable, the impact. the ripple effects. It's not just losing a member here. It's how many services did that person provide? How many key critical connection points in any nonprofit or community was that one person, that one individual doing? So if we're talking about dozens, if we're talking about over 1,000, that's immeasurable in a small state. I also want to reiterate that AmeriCorps, the earliest AmeriCorps programs have existed for 60 years in this country and have been supported by every single administration, supported, resourced, beloved, because it is a bipartisan effort to bring out the best of America. The latest, so we work with America's Service Commissions, which is our sort of support group. The latest, I think, calculation, if we want to talk about return on investment, just in terms of federal dollars, $34 reinvested for every one federal dollar that is spent on these programs. So it's not just losing people, it's losing potentially $34 in a community, in a nonprofit, for every dollar that is spent on these programs. AmeriCorps Seniors, all of the AmeriCorps state and national programs like CIDI or AmeriCorps Vista, et cetera. Many, many young adults and seasoned professionals who've committed a year or more of service suddenly have no plans, right? Left without opportunity or clear next steps. How many members of the federal workforce transition from these programs? I myself, I grew up in New Hampshire. My first AmeriCorps was with SCA, later with AmeriCorps Vista. I was so lucky to have the career I had in the federal government, serving in the agency that brought such amazing experience for me, only to be able to return to my home state and have a great career because of AmeriCorps. So my story is just one of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands that might change if this program no longer exists. And I'll just, so it's immeasurable. We're doing everything possible at Volunteer New Hampshire to manage this transition, this situation responsibly, with care for all of our partners. I'm so glad we have all of them here, many of them here in the room. I'm so glad we're hearing from our members, because at the end of the day, it's really about them. And our main goal is just to ensure that for FY26, we can continue this work.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll jump in. So among impacts of not knowing if we would have funding next year and into future years, in a very concrete way, I already have 8-10 members who serving this year committed to return to serve another year. And these young people who are giving of their time and their talent, receiving stipends below minimum wage, is putting in a position where they do not know if they're going to have a job. That looks like, what do I do with my housing? Am I extending my rent or am I not? For some of them who came from elsewhere, so in Manchester, whether or not from other community or even outside our state, they are sitting in the great uncertainty. And I think that it's utterly unfair for our young people who are already giving back to be sitting in this uncertainty. And some of them going to be forced to have to make decisions to ensure that they're able to take care of themselves. It also impacts our recruitment capacity. It's important that we recruit committed, dedicated young people to serve our students. And amidst uncertainty, we cannot honestly ensure that we would have positions for them. And that is really significant in terms of the impact on our students and the partnership with our district and schools. Like, how are we going to ensure that these young people return to the classroom to help support our students?
Thank you.
You know, apropos what's going to happen next year, I want to go back to something that Senator Hassan said that I say to everybody. And if you don't like what's happening, my view is call everybody. We should be talking to our social networks. We should be talking to every elected official we can find at the local, state, and federal level. That means Matt and other elected officials. We should be talking, you know, the Talk to the congressional delegation, but we're all here.
Yeah.
We're all supportive. Talk to the governor's office. Talk to your executive counselor. I mean, this is a case where, you know, back in 2017, when there was an effort to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, I am convinced that the reason it survived was because so many people across New Hampshire and across this country said this is not acceptable to get rid of this. We heard from thousands of people in New Hampshire between Senator Hassan and I, and I know that was the case across the country, and that makes a difference. So it's really important for us to speak up, to let people know what the potential impact is, because as all of you have said so eloquently, there are huge negative impacts on New Hampshire. And every elected official ought to be looking at that saying, this is not acceptable.
Right.
We can't allow this to happen because of what the impact would be on New Hampshire.
And I want to turn to James and Maricelli, because they're the two. You guys are from programs that people might not have heard as much about as the Conservation Corps and as City Year. And I think it's important for people to understand the full range of what AmeriCorps is able to do. So maybe we'll start with you, Maricelli. Just talk about Girls at Work, and then James will turn to you, and then we can, any other comments that people want to make after that, I think we will have a little bit of time for.
So it's actually my second time serving as an AmeriCorps member, and I wanted to make a point that we are making a direct impact on the community, but I also wanted to put in my own personal experience that this was an opportunity for myself. I didn't have the funds to go to college, so this AmeriCorps program gave me that opportunity to really, get my feet on the ground and make an impact on the community. Yeah. And I think the Siegel Educational Award was a really big part of that process, because I was able to take that and, further my education, and that was something I didn't have access to kind of growing up. Yeah. But right now I'm serving at Girls at Work, which is an organization in Manchester. We serve girls 8 to 14, and we teach them empowerment through building and the use of power tools. So that kind of opens up opportunities for their future, showing them different trades that they may not think that they deserve to be in or have opportunities for. And Girls at Work, 95% of the girls that attend the program are scholarship funded. So we're really trying to focus on, certain communities in Manchester where they may not have those opportunities. And I believe that just being there for the short time that I have, I've seen the immense impact on the girls that it has. Girls at Work kind of groups with other nonprofit organizations. So we focus a lot on adverse childhood experiences, and we team up with organizations like MPAL and ACERT programs. So I was an instructor in one of the MPAL groups this last couple of weeks, and just to see the girls grow and they start, they're really just not confident in themselves, and they're really asking for help, but we really just put it back on them using the Socratic method of just showing them you are capable, you have power. And then the program last week, the MPAL girls were building Adirondack chairs, and just to see how proud they were of themselves, they wanted all the girls in the room to sign, including the instructors, their chairs, because they just were so proud to take that work, and to visibly see it, I think, is such an impact that it makes on them to, show them that they have the experience, they have everything inside of them that they need. It's just, allowing them to see it. And I think that Girls at Work, I wouldn't have found out about it if I hadn't found AmeriCorps. So that was a really big impact in my life as well, to put those two together. It was a no-brainer for me. Once I found out, I was like, what? And I was like, that couldn't be more perfect. And I wanted to mention too, I myself I went through the foster care system. I've had my experiences with family addiction and use, and I think that just really focusing on those communities and giving the opportunity for support, and most of the programs that we offer, at the end of every class, we give out grocery bags, we give every single girl a pair of shoes, they get a Girls at Work sweatshirt, and you just see their faces light up, when you just say, hey, getting a pair of shoes today or a sweatshirt, and I'm just so proud to be an AmeriCorps member serving and proud to be part of that organization, because I know I wish I had something like that growing up as a kid. It really would have made such a profound impact on me. And yeah, I think that just like being here too, like this is a really big step for me to be in front of all of you, using my own voice, not only for myself, and also for the girls as well, because it really, I know that Girls at Work is just doing profound work that really is needed in Manchester and all over the country.
Thank you.
Thank you. You did a great job.
You did a great job. Thank you. James.
Yes, absolutely. Very inspiring story. So, what was mentioned earlier about, during this time of crisis, the need to be passionate and vocal. I think that we all need to be vocal and passionate about the importance of education.
Yeah.
Education is an existential linchpin to the health of the community. And the last thing that we need to be doing is taking away opportunities for students to learn adequately, but also to prepare the next generation of teachers. In Manchester excels, the program that I'm part of, it does both of those things. It allows volunteers to get directly into the classroom and make a tangible impact at that time. But it also provides these up-and-coming teachers with the tools that they need to be the best of the best. I've never found a program like it. What it allowed me to do was it allowed me to get into a fantastic master's program at SNHU, where I could learn the cutting edge skills, the things that are taught, the things that people don't even know about, the ways that we're going to make an impact in education, and apply that at that time, and find an avenue like I was fortunate to do to get a job lined up directly after and continue to carry on those skills and to make a positive impact in the classrooms in Hampshire. Manchester excels and other programs like it. We should not be getting rid of them. We should be funding them more. We should be creating more of them. Because if we want a better community and a better country, we need better education. To have better education, we need better teachers. And a lot of people aren't in a position to go and get their masters. I mean, if it wasn't for this program, I wouldn't have known to fund it. And if that was the case, then I wouldn't know to work my way in the classroom and make that impact that I want to make. I know there are a lot of educators here. We get into education for one reason only, and that's to make a positive impact, right, to help kids. And because of the state of affairs, a lot of people aren't even able to get there just because of financial reasons. AmeriCorps and programs like Manchester excels, they can make that happen.
That's great.
Well said. Well said. Guy, I think you are the one person we haven't heard from, so maybe you can close us out as the co-chair.
I'll try. A lot of points have already been covered, and the real truth of it is as a lifelong Republican in New Hampshire, and I don't like to talk politics, but the real truth of it is we need to do a bipartisan effort. And the time and energy and effort that you have demonstrated to us, with us, and the support we have from you, we in turn, the people of the state of New Hampshire, we need to turn that bipartisan effort back. Just as you said, Jeanne, contacting all our local people, because the more people you rally, trust me, it works. And you've got to start local, and then you've got to get to that executive council. I mean, there's only 400 members in the legislature. Right, Matt?
Yeah, we can all find one of them anyway.
Yeah, and you probably know at least several. I mean, I do. And we've got to communicate, and we all have to do it together. And that's the only way it's going to work, because as you shared on the Affordable Care Act, when that was passed, and I thought it was going away, the ability to get people involved is the only way it's going to work. So all of us need to reach out to at least 4 or 5 people and say, we all got to do this. And trust me, the more people that hear it, it's the only way it's going to work. The bipartisan effort is the only way, and we've got to do it. It's worked this far, this long, and to have it just go away like that is wrong.
Well said.
Very well said. Either of my colleagues?
Well, I don't know, there's folks around who are in the audience. Would anybody else like to make a point before we close? Yes.
I would. Hi, I'm Kathy Baird, the program director for Monadnock RSVP Volunteer Center. And our primary focus is education, and our AmeriCorps Roots program started in 1998. So it's really old. It didn't just start yesterday. And so it going away, it's a big deal. When the reading specialists read the letters about our relinquishment because of the attestation, they were devastated because our volunteers are an extension of the classroom. And not only is it working with the academics with the kids, their social emotional development is so far behind because of the pandemic. They need the volunteers with the life experience that they are bringing. And like Carol was saying on the way, here it's like being a grandparent, but not being a grandparent. And that is really a benefit because it's outside of the family system. It's somebody extra special that's giving them that attention in the classroom. And so this year, we had 48 volunteers serving in 14 schools and 3 Head Start programs and 2 pre-K programs. That's 652 students. And prior to the pandemic, that was 1,052 kids. Those are 1,052 kids that would not get that extra attention if the volunteers are not there. And so what's going to happen next year? What am I working on? I'm trying to make sure those volunteers can go back into school. We don't exist. The schools need us. So they're going to go back in. The problem is these are older adults. They're going to age out. And there is no infrastructure that is organized to put screen-trained volunteers into the schools. And without them, these kids, if they don't reach their grade level of reading by the end of 3rd grade, as Senator Shaheen pointed out, they're pretty much doomed. They may make really bad choices, risky behaviors, teen pregnancies. They may not get jobs. We may be pulling them out and paying more for programs instead of doing prevention programs. And reading is an essential skill that prevents them from falling to the bottom.
And it's a whole lot cheaper.
And it's a whole lot cheaper.
I mean, that's one of the really clear things here, is that this is about a little bit of investment into some infrastructure to leverage people willing to volunteer, work for a stipend, really make a difference with training and expertise, but also with volunteerism at heart.
And my experience is that if you can't always get people to do something for the right reason, often you can get them to do it because it's cost effective. So after we lay out the case about why this is all so important to do because it's the right thing to do, we need to also point out it's the cheap thing to do. It's a whole lot cheaper to do prevention than it is to do pay for what the results of not investing when we should. One of the things some of you may remember when I was governor, I was really focused on early childhood education and public kindergarten. And I used to carry around this chart with me. Actually, it was a graph. I can never remember charts or graphs. There was a graph, and it shows you child development. And child development goes like this. And it's really steep in the early years, and it levels out as kids get to be teenagers. And public investment in children is just the opposite. It goes like this. We invest really low in the early years, and we start investing a lot in the later years because that's when kids get into trouble. And that's when we start paying for prison, and we start paying for diversion programs, and we start paying for all of the things that we could have avoided if we had paid in the early years when it made more sense and it was more cost effective. So that's what all of you are doing. You're making that difference in the early years when it really makes such a difference.
Congresswoman, do you
Yeah.
think that?
It's not often that a program can say, for every dollar invested, it's a $34 return on investment. And I think that that is an important figure for us to spread everywhere. But what it misses is what we've heard today from each of you, that this AmeriCorps has changed generations of lives. And the case makes itself, but you know what? We're going to have to keep making it together for as long as it takes. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you all again for your time, for your effort, for your expertise, and for your love of your community. It's extraordinary, and we're grateful.
And for the fact that we're all going to go out of here and we're going to call everybody we know, right?
Right, exactly. Thanks,
and
everybody.
do this.